everyone, this is Dawn. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make this gatefold card using Sending Well Wishes and Thin Cut set, along with the stitched simple brackets and some papers from Sweet Safari. So let's get started. I'm going to use a base of espresso, and I'm going to cut this at 5.5 by 8.5. I'm measuring out to be sure before I actually cut the paper. So I'm going to trim that out, and then I'm going to bring my scoreboard in. You can also use the track on your trimmer, but I'm going to use my scoreboard, and I'm going to score this at 2 1/8 on each side. So I've got my score lines, and then I'll fold those sides in to the middle to create my gatefold. Okay, so that's how the gatefold works. So now I'm going to take a piece of this cloud paper from Sweet Safari, and then I'm going to trim 2 panels to go on the front of the card, and it's just slightly smaller than each of those side panels. So I'm measuring them out. It's about 1 3/4 by 5 1/4 for each of them, so that I can leave a little border of espresso around each side. I'm just making sure before I actually cut my paper. Okay, that's going to work. And then I'm going to bring this piece of espresso Sweet Safari paper in, and it has little scallops on the print. And so I'm going to cut that at 3/4 of an inch. And then I'm cutting slightly more so that I can just trim off the extra. So I'm cutting 2 pieces that are about 2 1/8 roughly, and then I'll trim off any bit that's hanging over the edge. Okay, so now I'm going to take a piece of white daisy, excuse me, and create a panel to go on the inside where my sentiment's going to go. So that's going to be cut at 4 inches by 5 1/4. And that will go inside my gatefold. Okay, now I'm ready to start doing a little stamping. So I've got a piece of white daisy cardstock, and I'm going to stamp this little birdhouse image in black ink, and I'm going to be coloring with the tri-blend markers. You see the colors that I have over on the right side of the screen. So I wasn't happy with that first stamped image. Part of it didn't stamp clearly, so I'm just going to stamp it again. And that second one turned out well. Okay, I liked that one. And then I'm going to stamp the inside portion of my card. So I've got this image of flowers, and then I'm going to use the sentiment inside that says, "I hope this brightens your day." So I'm just going to stamp that flat down on that panel. You could cut out that flower, the floral image, but since it's the inside of my card, I'm just going to stamp it direct, and then I'll color that in with my tri-blends as well. Okay, so now I have the inside of my card all done. All right. So now I'm going to bring my tri-blend markers in, and I'll show you just a little bit of the coloring. I've sped it up super fast, but then I'll skip ahead because you get the idea. I'm not doing any shading, I'm just laying color down. So we'll get part of the birdhouse done, and then I'll skip ahead. So I'm just using these 3 basic colors: browns, greens, and yellows. Okay, so now I'm going to bring my Big Shot in, and I'm going to cut the birdhouse out with the coordinating die. So run that through the Big Shot. And then I'm going to use the stitched simple brackets to cut a piece of canary cardstock. And this is where I'm going to stamp my sentiment for the front of the card. So I'll flip my Versamat over again for stamping. And this is going to kind of fly over the edge of that left panel. So I'm going to put and then I'm going to layer the birdhouse over it. So I'm going to stamp my image on the right side of that scalloped bracket. Or it's a stitched simple bracket, sorry. There's another set that's called scallop brackets. My bad. Okay, so now it's time to start assembling our card. So I'm going to start by putting down these cloud designs on each of the panels, and I'm just using Tombow tape runner to attach everything. Get that down, and I'll put the inside panel in. I'm leaving a border around the edges. Okay, so now I'm going to layer these strips of pattern paper, and I thought I'd bring in some of this Bluebird shimmer trim to add a little extra bling. So I'm going to layer those on top of that scalloped paper. So there's scallops that wind up showing on the top and the bottom of that shimmer trim strip. So I'm just going to trim that down, and again I'm going to trim off the excess once I get it on my card. So shimmer trim is self-adhesive, so you just peel off that backing and then stick it down, and then I'll adhere those strips using Tombow. I'm just going to place it right in the center. So I'm using the measurements on my Versamat to kind of figure out where that should go. So we'll get those down. And then I'll trim off that excess. Okay. And then I'm going to layer my sentiment bracket. Now I'm just going to put foam tape on the left side and then nothing on the back of the right side of that bracket so that it hangs over the right side. Okay, and then I'm going to add foam tape to my birdhouse image and place that down. And then of course I need a little extra bling, so I've got some of these bitty sparkles I'm going to put in the center of the flowers. And then I felt like I needed something more because my birdhouse was just kind of floating in the clouds. So I went back and got some of this mix-in paper, and then I cut it using fancy borders. So I have like a grass hill, and I'm just going to attach it underneath where that birdhouse is. And then any excess I'll be trimming off. So I'm going to place that down so that my birdhouse looks like it's sitting in grass. Makes more sense, right? Okay, so then I'll just adhere that on the right panel and then trim off the excess. Okay, now it looks finished. Now I'm happy. Okay, so that's my finished card, and then I'll show you some still images right here. So all of these supplies are currently available in my online store. The URL is in the upper right corner of your screen, and I'll make a list of supplies with links in the description below. I appreciate you watching my video today. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button, and thanks for watching.